Hey, what's up guys? Commander Alex here, and today we're going to be talking about the new items coming to and changing in 1.19. So basically we're just going to be going over all the different item adjustments that are happening, and I'm going to break down all the different changes as well as give you guys kind of an overview of when these different items would be useful, maybe when to buy them, when not to buy them, and kind of just give you guys the rundown. So first off, we have the contracts. That's right, contracts. There are 3 of them now. There's not just one. There is still an IRONGUARD contract, but it's been changed quite a bit. So basically, the IRONGUARD contract now has a passive that when a nearby ally kills a jungle monster, you both heal for 75 health with a range of 14 meters and a cost of 300 gold. So basically, this is for jungle sustain. You're going to pick this up when you have a really squishy support or a self-harming jungler. So like if you have Alpha or something, you might want to pick this up so that she can stay topped off in the jungle, so that when she comes out of the jungle, she's going to be ready to fight. But basically, this IRONGUARD contract is going to be what you're going to pick up if you don't have a really tanky support that can take all those hits, or a support that can heal themselves up enough. So I like picking this up first on most supports, and honestly, I think it's just one of the better IRONGUARD contracts, or rather contracts, right now. I probably like it the best. Anyway, we have Protector Contract. The active on this one grants a 120 health barrier to the nearest ally for 2 seconds on a 5-second cooldown with 2 max charges and a 20-second per charge timer. It also has a range of 8 meters and a cost of 300 gold. So this one is it's a defensive contract, but it's going to be something that's actually meant for fighting. So the IRONGUARD contract is more meant for you to come out of the jungle not super low on health. The Protector contract is actually meant to be used in battle to help keep your allies alive, and it's really, really good at that in the early game. 120 health barrier times 2 in the early game is pretty massive in fights. Into the mid game, into the late game, not so much. So I would definitely sell this. I would probably sell the Protector contract into like the, I don't know. You could sell it into the mid game. Maybe if you have an extra slot, you can hold it on into the late game, but I honestly would sell it fairly early because it's not all that useful. The IRONGUARD contract can be useful in the mid game, but the reason that I tend to sell both of them fairly early is that they're really not something that's going to make a difference, and you can fill that slot with something a lot more effective, especially when you're going for just like defensive items that are really, really cheap. Then you have the DRAGONBLOOD contract. The DRAGONBLOOD contract is the 3rd and final contract. It has an active that after a brief delay, nearby enemy heroes are marked for 3 seconds. The next basic attacks from an ally consume the mark, slowing for 3 seconds slowing by 30% for 2 seconds and dealing 75 bonus crystal damage on a 15% cooldown, 15-second cooldown timer, 2 max charges with 40 seconds per charge, range 4 meters, and costs 300 gold. Oh my god, I'm slurring my words, guys. Alright, so the DRAGONBLOOD contract. Basically, this is your aggressive contract. This is what you're going to pick up if you are a melee support that's going aggressive. So this is like Fortress's favorite contract ever. What it is you jump in there, you pop it, and assuming your ally pops the mark on both the enemy jungler and support, you're going to be getting an extra 150 free crystal damage on an enemy, which is really, really strong. And yeah, it's a great item if you're going aggressive, but it falls off very quickly. It's probably going to be something you're going to sell by the end of the mid game, or rather by the end of the early game, and definitely by the beginning of the mid game. And then, yeah, it's only really good on melee supports because it has that short range, so you have to actually get up close and personal with the enemy team's jungle, which means that as like a Lyra or an Adagio, you're probably not going to be there, and so you're not going to be picking this item up. But it's a great item for Fortress, Arden, or really any early game jungle that's trying to pressure early and has a melee support. Alright, so those are the contracts. Next we're going to talk about the different utility items. So there's a bunch of different utility items, but I guess we'll start off first with the new damage utility items, and those being the STORMGUARD banner and STORMCROWN. So the STORMGUARD banner has a passive that after using an ability, your next 3 basic attacks in the next 6 seconds deals 75 bonus true damage to non-heroes or 20 to heroes. It can only be refreshed once every 6 seconds, has a 2.5 energy recharge, 150 energy battery, plus a $800 recipe cost gives it a cost of $1,100. And basically, this is going to be what you use for early game objective control. So if you're pushing turrets early, pick up a STORMGUARD banner. If you're taking gold mines early, pick up a STORMGUARD banner. If you're stealing minion mines early, pick up a STORMGUARD banner. You can get, in theory, an extra 125 true damage every 6 seconds from this thing, which is insane. Like, that's a lot of true damage to non-heroes. That being said, if you're thinking that this is going to tear through regular heroes like the normal STORMGUARD does, it doesn't. At most, it can do 60 true damage to regular heroes every 6 seconds, which is pretty abysmal in my opinion. And honestly, if you're trying to use this to damage heroes, I wouldn't pick it up for that. It can technically be useful against supports who are stacking armor and shielding, but for the most part, just get it for the objective control, which it is very, very good at. In the early game, you can chew through gold mines and you can actually steal them as just a support in the early game using this item, which is really strong and kind of adds to a lot of team play because you can have your lane pushing, your jungle invading, and you taking a gold mine, and the enemy team won't really know which part of your team to focus, if that makes sense. Next, we have the STORMCROWN. This is like the big brother to the STORMGUARD banner. The passive is that after using an ability, your next 4 basic attacks in the next 6 seconds deal 140 bonus true damage to non-heroes, 35 to heroes, and can only be refreshed once every 6 seconds. It has a 30% cooldown speed, 5 energy recharge, 200 energy, and 150 health. It's built out of a STORMGUARD banner and a chronograph plus a $300 recipe cost for $2,200. And the idea with this one is basically it's massive late game objective control. So think about if you proc this twice while taking the Kraken. So that's 12 seconds, which is probably going to be about the normal length of taking a Kraken. But within that time span, you're going to be getting 560 damage times 2. So you're getting 1,120 true damage to Kraken in 12 seconds. That is absolutely insane in my opinion. It's really great for taking those early objectives, and it's really good for pressuring as a support because, like, as a support, you can now take Kraken, which is really strong and really means that the enemy team has to think about where the support is and not just, like, think, well, the carries are here, so their support must be here. So I really like that they're adding so much, like, objective control to supports, but at the same time, 35 true damage times 4 to heroes is just, it's not going to be anything substantial. So it's useful if you're trying to, finish off a hero or something, and it's useful against supports, I suppose. But when it comes to actually using this item, you're going to want to use it against objectives. Don't try to use this to kill heroes because it's just not effective at that. That's not what it's built for. Also, it gives you some nice extra stats. The 30% cooldown speed, 5 energy recharge, 200 energy, and 150 health. They're nice, nothing special, but for the gold, you're getting a really good value out of the STORMCROWN, and I think this is going to be kind of a normal buy for a lot of people. Alright, so those are the damage utility items. Now we're coming to the movement utility items. There's 3 different types of boots. These are all tier 3 boots, and basically the idea is that you buy the first 2 tiers, which are all the same, and then you have to make a decision. So your first option is Journey Boots. The passive is that your movement speed is up from your passive movement speed is up from 0.5 to 0.6, which is like 0.1 more than it is right now, if that makes sense. Your cooldown has been increased from 30 seconds to 60 seconds, and your passive damage, your passive is that damaging heroes instantly sets the cooldown to 12 seconds if it's above it, and you also get the armor shielding and health regen removed from what the Journey Boots are right now, as well as your health from the normal Journey Boots down to 250. So basically, they're about running quickly during a fight. So you run into a fight and then you hit someone. That sets the cooldown to these to 12 seconds. That means that if you have a long fight, you can use them once to reposition, once to chase an enemy, once to reposition, once to get out. You have a lot of options with these, and these are going to be picked up on heroes that really need to reposition and keep good positioning. So, if you're playing Finn or something, you probably don't care about Journey Boots. You might because they gave you that extra burst of movement, but basically, you're probably going to be buying these on heroes like Lyra, like Celeste, or Scarf or something. Heroes that really need to worry about positioning and need to continually reposition during fights. So that's where I think Journey Boots are going to be best suited. But they may be useful somewhere else. You guys got to tell me in the comments down below, who do you think are going to be buying all the different types of boots, and kind of where do you think they're going to land as far as their effectiveness. Also, we have the War Treads. The active is that nearby allies sprint for 2 seconds. That's on a 60-second cooldown with the passive, the 0.4 movement speed. The Travel Boots passive, 500 health. STORMGUARD passive has been removed from them, and they're built out of Travel Boots and a Dragon Heart plus an $850 recipe for 250 gold. So basically, these are going to be your replacements for Warhorns. These are going to be what most supports pick up, and they're great for hard engaging, obviously, because you can get your entire team rushing forward. But they're also great for macro map movements. So if you're trying to out-rotate an enemy, these are really good to pick up because they can allow you to get to Kraken or Goldmine or whatever it is early and set up to actually engage on the enemy team, which is really nice. And I think it's something that's going to be a lot more a part of the game in 1.19. It's not just going to be about who can win the fight, but it's going to be about who can get to the fight first and who can set up for the fight and who has those macro rotations that are really a big part of Vainglory that people don't even think about, I think, all that often. All right, so finally we have the Halcyon chargers. Their active is that you sprint for 3 seconds, so that's on a 50-second cooldown, which is a lot. Sprinting for 3 seconds is going to get you really far. These are basically the boots that you press them and you're going to be gone. Like, no one's going to catch you if you press these boots. The passive is that you get a 0.5 movement speed. You also have the passive from travel boots, the 200 health, 15% cooldown speed, 4 energy recharge, and 250 energy. So these have a lot of extra stats tagged onto them, which is nice. You know, if you're playing like a laner or something, say you're playing Celeste, these could be nice so that you can get that extra little bit of cooldown speed as well as the energy recharge and energy. But honestly, these are kind of the I'm outie boots. Like, you press them and you're gone. They're really great for hard engaging if your entire team has movement speed, but they're also really great for, you know, you're playing Celeste, you're playing Scarf, and you're poking around, and Taka gets on top of you. You press these boots, and you're out of there. You know what I mean? These are the nope boots, and you just run. All right? They're built out of travel boots and a void battery plus 600 recipe gold for $2,300 total cost. All right, so finally we have vision items. Now the vision items have been changed considering that there's a completely new one, but I don't think the contraption is actually that great. So we're going to go over that a little bit later. First off, we have the flare gun. The active for it is that basically you fire a flare. It's on an 18-second cooldown. It's really nothing complicated. You also get 250 health. It's built from an oak heart plus 300 gold for 600 gold in total, and this is going to be a must-buy in my opinion. I think this is going to be an item that all supports pick up as like a third item, more or less, maybe third, fourth item, and it's going to be something that you pick up to use for macro movements that you can tell where the enemy's going, as well as for invading. It's just a really versatile item to have, and obviously getting that early game vision for only $600 is really awesome. It's going to be probably just something that everyone's going to be picking up in the future, in my opinion. That being said, contraption's a different story. Let's talk about the changes. You get your cooldown has been moved up from 3 to 5 seconds, 18 seconds per charge, 350 health, 15% cooldown speed, 300 energy recharge, and then the health regen has been removed, the STORMGUARD passive has been removed, and the new recipe is a flare gun plus a chronograph plus a recipe cost of 700 for a total of 2,100. Alright, so contraption, it's not that great, costs a lot of money, and the flare gun does pretty much everything it can do, except for not quite as often. Basically, get the flare gun, upgrade the flare gun into a contraption, but only upgrade it as like your 4th or 5th item, maybe even 6th item. You know, the flare gun is really everything you need, and the contraption's only for that late game extra, like I need to throw 3 different flares to figure out where the hell Taka went. It's not going to be all that useful in most scenarios, and honestly, for the cost and everything you're getting with it, it's just not worth it in my opinion. So I think flare gun's going to be a must-buy for people, but I think contraption's going to be a little bit less so. I think it eventually will be a must-buy, but it's going to be something that people are only going to buy as one of their final items and not as like a third item or second item or whatever people are doing right now. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys have some thoughts onto the different items. You know, what do you think is going to be OP? Do you think the freaking 1,120 damage, true damage to Kraken, do you think that's going to be OP? I think that's going to be OP, but tell me in the comments down below, and I'd love to hear what you guys have to think. And that's about all I have for you guys. So thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. See ya.